Hey guys, so we are going to the introduction again. As always, Yerkai Tune with nature's blessings. We are going to start the life skills session of today. Myself, Desika Prabhakar from the Purpose Foundation, and I have my darling COO Lakshmi, our interns Hema and Catherine also with us. Thank you guys for joining today. All these 50 hearts who have had a ton of good lunch and still gearing up for learning and for knowledge and the vision and passion you have. Very, very proud of you. Thank you for joining today. And today's session is going to be one of our life skill session. So not like, it's not only the technical session that is important, but also more important thing is the life skill that you have to learn, the mindset, the other essential hacks that you need to actually navigate through life, especially when you are an entrepreneur. So that is what we're going to see as our first session today. We will see the topic how to Dhandha. Dhandha means basically business. You would have seen that famous Shark Tank meme also, I think. So Dhandha is basically the crux of business. We are going to learn today from our renowned guest speaker. So let's hear the introduction from our lovely Lakshmi.
Yes. Good afternoon, guys. So it's a pleasure to welcome you all to this exciting virtual technical session on how to Dhandha, as ma'am said. So today we are honored to have with us Mr. Sanjay Mehta, a true luminary in the field of technical transformation, e-commerce, and market technology. And he's said to be a seasoned expert with an impressive track record of driving business growth through strategic leadership. And he's also specialized in guiding mid-sized to large organizations and crafting effective digital and business strategies. His passion towards mentoring startups, especially post Series A phase, is truly commendable. And he's also serving as independent director and strategic advisor, where he provides invaluable expertise to enterprises with revenues that ranging from rupees 1,000 to 10,000 crores. But that's not all about. His commitment to sharing knowledge and nurturing the next generation of leaders is evident, where he is said to be serving as a guest faculty member at Flame University, where he teaches digital marketing and innovation. And he is also said to be contributing to the digital industry, where he have earned him as a spot in India's Digital Power 100 to his influence and impact. And he's also, in addition to be said to be like playing an advisory roles and teaching, and accomplished an author and podcast co-host. And he has a co-authored the book called "If I Can Do It, If I Had to Do It Again." Sorry, if I had to do it again, and host a popular 12 episode podcast on entrepreneurship, which is available on Spotify. You guys can check it. And his insights and experience have made him a highly sought after speaker at the industrial events, and has also served as a jury member at prestigious Cannes Lions Advertising Festival. So we are incredibly fortunate to have him with us today to share his wisdom and insights. So get ready, guys, to be inspired and gaining valuable knowledge as he'll be taking us through the intricacies of how to Dhandha. So welcoming you all to this session.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. So do we have our guest speaker already with us? Yes, sir has joined. So thank you so much for the lovely introduction. So we would love to welcome our guest Sanjay Mehta, sir, a person who's been pouring out growth ever since internet actually even came to India. When people are asking about KRA, he addressed the growth as KRA every single day. And from e-com to digital innovation to tech to branding, you name it, he has seen it all and an icon in this space. So thank you, Lakshmi, for that amazing introduction. Now let's give the floor to Mr. Sanjay Mehta. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today for this session. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Desika. Oh, the subject that I was given was how to Dhandha, which is getting as direct as you can possibly get about starting a business. So no beating around the bush. Finally, just let's say how do you create a business? How do you become an entrepreneur? How do you have your startup? So a whole lot of stuff which I'm going to try and compress in 30 minutes time that I've been given. So we'll do our best. Let's see. Good afternoon, everyone. So let's move on. Second slide. Very, very small and quick introduction about myself. Although I missed the one which was given, but I presume some of it would have been conveyed. that I have spent, let's say, last about 15 years. I used to be a co-founder and CEO at Miram, which was a full services digital marketing and solutions business. We were a part of VML, and so we became part of WPP Group from 2014. I exited this venture recently. Prior to Miram, I was a co-founder of a previous startup, which was called HomeIndia.com, which ran all the way from 1998 till 2007. Considering that it was an e-commerce business, I think there's some echo. Yeah, it was way back in 98, 97, 98, and it was e-commerce. So it was very, very early days of internet. And we were selling Indian products to customers outside India. The learnings from that venture of ours, HomeIndia.com, was converted into a book. The book is called If I Had to Do It Again, and it was published by CNBC TV 18. So that's the book that you see. So just a little bit about myself, having been a serial entrepreneur, author, etc. So you kind of maybe know where all the knowledge, all the gyan today is coming from. Just a little perspective on that. Next slide. So, like I said, I've been there, done that. So that's where the background is, and all of these, like typical startup and entrepreneurship, and what kind of a venture is it? A mom and pop business? Is it a growth business? Is it a valuation game? What are the challenges of survival? All these things have been things which I have dealt with on a day-to-day basis for more than 25 years now. And so that's just a quick background. And next slide. So let's get on. What I've done is I've identified some 10, 11 fundamental aspects of running a business or creating a startup, or all the fancy words that we use nowadays. And we'll take each one as an independent kind of idea, but some total of it are elements which will help you in potentially creating your own business. The first idea is what is called as bootstrapping. Now, a lot of times when I hear young people wanting to create a venture or a startup, and they get stuck with the thought that I need to raise funds. And it's obviously not easy for somebody to just write a check for you and give you a funding, even though you may have a great idea. So then your aspirations to become a business person or a startup begin and end there, because though you couldn't raise funds. The reality is that a lot of businesses don't need funding, like just because it's become a sexy word on on Shark Tank or in news every day, that somebody raised so much money and somebody raised so much money. You think that that is the start, and without that you can't start. That's not the fact. There are a lot of businesses which can get off the ground by creating revenue and profits to a small extent by itself, then redeploying those funds, increasing your base, making more money, and so on and so forth. That is known as bootstrapping. Only if your business has some capital intensive ideas, you need to hire a lot of expensive people or something, and without which it can't go on, that's when you might need funding. So don't always think about funding and all that as a starting point. It may not be so, depending on what kind of business you're running. So for Home India, for example, we were 100% bootstrapped. Next slide. But what you do need, even if you don't need funds, what you do need, I would strongly recommend, is that you need a business plan. Okay. Far too often, I feel that I see people who have a business idea, and they think it's a great idea. They think it should just fly. But what are the elements of the idea? Like, first of all, what is the problem you're trying to solve? So what is the objective? What's the goal? And who is your audience? Who is your customer? Even if it's a B2C, who is your client? If you're doing B2B business, what are the kind of audience that you require? What's your operational mode? What is your cash flow? Like, how is the money going to come? How is the money going to be used? What's the strategy to grow your business? What's the strategy to create a competitive advantage? How are you different from your competitors who may always be there? What's the marketing plan? What's the kind of team that is essential and that is required to make this going? How is the operational flow? How do you ensure that you will not have operational challenges as you run this? All of this is captured in a business plan. Again, far too often, I think people think of business plan as something that they need to show to an investor when they are pitching for funding. That is far from the case. The business plan is for you to know what is your journey going to be. What is your plan? Now, today, if you're going out with your friends, there's a plan, right? That this is the time we'll meet here. We'll go for a movie, then we'll go for dinner. We'll make a reservation here, and this and that. Anything needs a plan. This is your business. You need a plan for your own self. Investors and all come later on. Okay, next slide. The other thing is that, like this is something which you might wonder, oh, why is it even here? The point is that why do you want to be a startup? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? What is it that you're really trying to do? Is it only about, oh, I want to make money? If that is the case, I'm sure there are many other ways in which you can do so. You can get a job, you can get a job in a great industry which pays you a lot of money. Maybe the industry gives you stock options and whatnot. You can make money many ways. Generally speaking, when you're trying to do a new business or a venture, there is some bigger reason. Supposing you're in healthcare and you feel that, look, today healthcare, there is a big problem. If we need this kind of healthcare service, it is not available. And I think it's a necessity. And I want to make a venture, I want to create a startup which solves that problem. So there is a bigger vision. Now, once you know that there is a gap in somewhere in the environment, something needs to be solved, and you are going to be the person, or your business is going to be that business which is solving that, then that's your real reason you're here. And then everything else, the business detailing, the profits, the margins, everything comes subsequently. But your North Star is that I want to solve this problem for the community, for the society, right? It's important to have that because that gives you motivation, that gives you drive why you are there in the first place. Next slide. And then as you go along, right? So, you're not going to reach your end goal anytime quickly. So you say that, okay, this is my venture. This is what is it? So like I was giving you the example in the previous slide, that I want to solve this problem for society. This is a healthcare issue and I'm going to do this. Now you're not going to get to that point quickly. There is a journey to reaching there. So are you only concerned about the start and the finish, that this is where I start and until I finish, there's a journey? Or if you connect the previous couple of slides, there is a business plan. The business plan will show you the step-by-step journey, right? You're going from A to B and B to C and C to D, and you're expecting to get to these points in a certain amount of time, right? So in a year, you want to cover this much ground. And then another next year, you want to cover this much ground, right? So all that is where the milestones come in. Those are in a journey also, you're going from Mumbai to Delhi, you will be going through these various points. And so from here to Baroda, you will reach in so much time. And from Baroda to this place, you will reach so much time, or whatever it is. That's your journey and your milestones. Similarly, your business needs milestones. You need to constantly measure, are you getting there? Are you getting there in good time? And are you covering enough ground? So keep that in mind. Have very clear milestones set up. Next slide. Today, most businesses, there are very few businesses which are, let's say, completely automated machinery, and you don't need too many people. You just need a machine. You put something in, you get an output. Those kind of businesses are few and far in between. Most businesses have a very critical need of people, of talent. Now, they could be talent on the shop floor in a workshop. It could be a garment company. You need tailors, or you need other workmen, or it could be a software company and you need programmers, or you have a services business, you need the marketing people, etc. People is a very crucial part of any business, and especially when you're a startup, the people you bring on board, first of all, need to have a huge belief in the idea, just like you do. you have passion. See, a startup life is not a job in a startup is not a comfortable job like you would have in a well-established business where the perks are there and the creature comforts are there. There is air conditioning and there's tea coffee machine and there are holidays and everything. A startup life is very different. So if somebody is going to maybe leave their comfortable job and come to work with you in your startup, they need to have as much passion about your business. And again, that's where your reason to be comes in. And you bring in the person and say, look, together we are going to change the world in this manner, we are going to solve this problem for society, for everyone. If the belief is there, and then trust you as an individual that you are capable, or you are, together you all can make it, that's when they'll join you. So value those people. People is a very crucial part of any business. And for startups especially, getting the right people with the right mindset, the right kind of missionary attitude is very crucial. So I hope most of you, or many of you, recognize the person on the slide is Jeff Bezos, the founder and CEO of Amazon.com. And at one point, Amazon is one of the most successful businesses we all know in the world. But what he said is that focus on what makes your beer taste better. Now, what does it mean? Say that if you are a beer manufacturing company, the part which makes your beer taste better is something that you need to be deeply involved in, and you need to have control on it. You need to do that part because that's your most crucial element of your business. Anything else, like if you're a beer manufacturing company and there is a truck to run from your factory to the distributor, that's not your core. You can outsource it. If there is accounts to be written to file income tax returns, that's not your core. You can outsource it. But do not outsource the core part, which is what makes your beer taste better. In much the same way, the important thing is for any business to understand what are the most critical parts of your business. And you need to be an expert on that. You need to really understand them well. You need to have internal expertise and not depend on partners or outsourced companies. You have to have a control on them, right? Because I have seen a lot of people, especially coming up with ideas for a mobile app or a technology piece, and they are not core technology people. They are not software people. But they said, okay, I'll get the software done from some outsourced company and I'll run the business, which could be fine if it was any other business. But if the software product, the mobile app, the interface, the screens, all those things are your core business, and you do not know it, you are not in control, and you are happy to have a external vendor to do it for you, you're making a big mistake. Okay, the most critical parts of your business need to be in your control, and mostly and preferably done by yourself. Next slide. So this is the other challenge, right? A lot of startup founders today I've seen are people, especially in India, with a lot of technology startups, Bangalore and every other such place. We see either somebody has a technical skill or somebody has other core skills. They know their work well. They know how to write some good software, or they know how to make a garment, or they know how to do jewelry. But realize that one of the most critical elements of succeeding in a business is to be able to sell your product, right? Just because you build a good product doesn't mean that your sales will be, or you will make a lot of money or a lot of revenue will happen. At the most, these things happen if you were a monopoly. Very, very, very rare businesses in today's day are monopolies. There is enough and more competition out there. So sales and marketing is very, very critical for any business. I was once, many years back, I was at a startup in Bangalore where there were 5 founders and they were building a fabulous product, software product. And I had gone and they had invited me to just help them or mentor them. And I had gone and met them. And they had a great product. They demonstrated it and they say, this is what it can do, that's what it can do. And then I asked some, slightly difficult questions, that how much sales is happening and how many clients you have. And, kind of they were looking at each other because they actually didn't have clients or didn't have too many clients. And I said, is the product not fully ready, which is why you don't have clients? Are you still in development mode? They said, no, product is ready. I said, why is there are no sales? Because they say ultimately what it came out is that all of the five founders, not one, not two, five founders, they were all very technical oriented. They were all busy building the product. They liked that piece. They were programmers, so they loved to do that. But nobody wanted to go and ask outside कि मेरे को धंधा दो, मेरे को business दो, because that's a tougher one to ask. It's a little awkward to go and say, give me business, pay me this money, and nobody did it. But listen, without that, business is not going to go forward. So ideally, the founder needs to be the most avid salesperson of the business. But if you're really, really shy, you are introvert, you can't do it, then at least get a great sales guy or a sales and marketing guy in your team, because that is required. And when I say guy, I mean guy or girl. I mean, I'm using it in a gender irrespective way. There are enough great sales women who do a fabulous job as well. So okay, next slide. So that said, when you are a startup, there is a lot of challenge. I mean, there are certain things which often people miss out, like, or don't pay enough attention. So, for example, you are in a product development part. You're working on a product. It's got to reach a point where it is ready to sell, and then it goes out and gets sold, right? And you have arranged money for yourself, whether it's your own fund, your friends and family money, or some angel investors have put some money with you. And there is a plan that said that in 12 months your product will be ready and it will go out. What happens if the product doesn't get ready in 12 months? You're still in development stage. It's going to need 6 more months. It's going to need 9 more months. What happens? You don't have enough cash to run your business, your organization, because you had only raised so much. From 13th month, you were expecting money to come in by sales, right? So that is one thing. Sometimes there are other cash flow issues that you do not, you give extended credit to your clients. You're supposed to get money. First of all, ideally, you should get money in advance. So you get money in 30 days, but you already gave them 60 days credit time, and they actually pay you in 90 days or 120 days. And all your money is just stuck with your clients, and you need money to pay your rent, your salaries, and everything, and you run out of money. So some basic things like managing timelines, managing cash flow, all of these become very crucial for survival. Startups, when they are in that journey, have frequent, if not all the time, but frequent survival challenges, because you've not got enough money, your product is still under development. So the important thing is your eye as a founder or as a startup entrepreneur has to be that first survive, then thrive, right? So don't go and make ambitious bets on big growth plans and marketing monies and all that in while risking survival. Don't overcommit on some of these spends, and you have a challenge to even manage your next day, survival strategy. So first survive, because once you survive, once you run through a sales curve, you get some business going, you will start creating a reserves pool of, you'll have money in sitting in the bank, which will allow you to take a little risk. But early stage, when you're still having only so much money to survive, that is not quite the time for you to go and bet big, or especially bet beyond your means. So that's the important thing. And the quote on the right side says that entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people won't, which means that you will be spending 18-hour days. You may go, without proper sleep. You may not be able to take vacations. You may not have that much fun. So it's like entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people won't. Your friends will be partying, they'll be going on vacations and this and that. But why you do that? So that you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't, which means you put in hard work for a long time, for a certain time, make it successful, generate revenues and profits for yourself, so that thereafter you can live a life much better than some of your colleagues or classmates, your friends, who chose a simpler and standard and easier life. So that's the trade off. So when I say survival means, okay, you take a low salary, you take no salary and whatnot, it's because you want money remaining in the company to meet costs and grow. And that's a compromise, that's a sacrifice that you're making. But the sacrifice is because you know that you're creating something great and you will start making a lot more money in time to come. Next slide. One of the things which is very essential in the startup life is what we call networking. Now, unfortunately, networking today has become a bit of a joke. I mean, every day I get LinkedIn connections, and if I accept it, I mean, there's a complete stranger I don't even know, but supposing I accept the friend request, immediately following there is a small message to me that I am doing this, I am this software developer, and if you have any requirement, give me. Like, I don't even know the person, and I've just barely connected, and you're thinking that I will automatically have so much faith in you that I'll start giving my next big software project to you. How does that work? So the real essence of networking is to make genuine connections, create good, genuine relationships. There's a give and take. First, give if somebody is looking for some help where you can help them. Now, the help can be maybe just connecting your friend A to your friend C, because maybe they'll find something worthwhile, because this guy, what he's doing, your other friend might find it useful. You're connecting them. Something happens, both of them will be grateful to you because you made it happen, and it took only 30 seconds of your time. But to keep that in mind, that I need to help others also, because after you've done that enough times, then when you go and ask for some help, they'll be happy to help you. But today, unfortunately, networking has been reduced to becoming like, just connect, ask for help. Doesn't work, doesn't help. Okay, next slide. There is an idea which you might have seen or read and heard about called pivot. A lot of times startups do something what is known as pivot. Now, what is pivot? Pivot is all of these other words written on that slide, which means reset, modify, shift, reposition, new plan, which means that you set out to do something, you had a business plan, you were trying to get something to happen. Somehow, as the business started rolling out, some things didn't quite work out. They were not happening. Maybe you were not getting enough money, you were not getting enough clients. But meanwhile, you've created a strong base. Maybe you've created a product, or you've created some skills internally in your organization, which may be useful with a small change in the plan. So if it's not like you have to constantly keep changing, because you have to be on course with a certain thing. But with that, if you tried hard, you tried everything, and it's not somehow still going forward, you may take a pause and say, look, this is what I have built. These are the skills I've got. This is the product I've built. But what I set out to do is not quite going that way. Can I make some changes and slightly pivot? So, for example, you could be saying that you started out trying to do a B2C business, that is, business to consumer directly. And it was taking too much effort, too much time, or it was taking too much money to get to a consumer, but you still had a great product. And say, hey, can I pivot and become a B2B business? Take the same product and sell to institutional buyers or other businesses. Now that's a pivot. You decided to shift course, but not by completely changing the business. Your product, etc., was still the same. You made a certain shift, an interesting pivot. So that is something that may be necessary occasionally in the course of your startup journey. Next slide, please. So there's this quote which says that time is everything, speed is of the essence, especially in today's world of business and startups, etc. Like I said earlier, if you had a business plan, you had milestones, you had figured out that from in this much time I have to go from year to year. You raise money keeping those timelines in mind. You know that your money will last so much time. After that, you need to start generating your own money by sales. Now, in all that, somewhere if things go slower, somewhere if that obsession is not there, that I need to get to this point in so much time, and you sit on it, you take your time, you're still going in a slightly slow and steady way, there is a big risk. There's a risk that you may run out of money. There's a risk that the kind of problem solving that you're trying to do, somebody else gets there early, becomes a brand and occupies that space. Then it's hard for you because now you have to go and displace that person, which is harder. There's an empty space. You can be the first and go and say, I am the person who does it. But if you take time and somebody else goes and takes that space, then you are like a person who's coming in second and has a harder work for you. So basically, point is that maybe in a job, maybe in corporate world, sometimes you take it easy, you do whatever you can from 10 to 6, and then okay, it's not there. As a startup, speed is of the essence. Push yourself to whatever extent you can and make it happen in time. Next slide. Yeah, okay. So that was it. So I think I clearly managed in 30 minutes for sure. Covered my slides, then that gives us time for Q&A.
Yes, thank you so much for such an packed session, as you call it, but it was as insightful and as elaborate as it can get. So we will move on to the questions. First, Amay, please go ahead.
Yeah, so this was an amazing presentation, quite insightful. Thank you, sir. I had to ask, so I have an idea. It can be turned into a business idea, but I don't want to be an entrepreneur at all.
Okay.
So what do you think I should do? Like, I'm totally interested in research. What do I do?
So it's not like, maybe you can find a friend who's interested in the idea. Somebody else needs to have the same passion, or there could be some so-called, incubators or some such organization nowadays. There are there. Some of them work with colleges. Some are independent ones also. There are teams or there are entrepreneurs who are looking for ideas sometimes. So you have an idea, but you don't want to be an entrepreneur. There may be entrepreneurs who don't have a great idea, and there could be a potential marriage to be done there. Not the easiest thing, because there needs to be belief in the idea. So if the belief right now is from you right now, somebody else who has a similar belief and sort of trust that idea is the one who can take it forward. Uh, so you have to try. If you think your idea is really great, it can actually become a big business opportunity. Only that you don't want to do it, then that's the way. The other option is that you can get so-called co-founder, or you can play the role. You can say, I'm not going to run the business, but I'm happy to be a CTO there, or a technology of in charge or something. So you're not doing that grind of running the organization, entrepreneurship yourself. So there are multiple options. Not the easiest if it's your idea, but if you have a strong belief that the idea is good and it should not go to waste, then you can attempt some of these and see if you can find the right connection.
So maybe I can build the business myself first, and then I can leave and give it to someone else, and I can just take a royalty on it. Okay, it's my idea, so you can pay me as much as business.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's just that it's a little theoretical to see all that through. Honestly, so if you put 2 years and say, I built a business, but now I don't want to go anywhere. I mean, I don't want to continue. If you don't have the right partner at that point, that somebody who will continue after that, what happens, right? So, I mean, you want to think those things through. Maybe you should have somebody with you from the beginning, and you say that okay to come to a point up to where the product is developed, but then you're equally involved. Maybe he's a 50% partner or whatever it is. Then he or she has enough skin in the game to continue after that. And when you have made it very clear that beyond 2 years, I don't want to be involved or something, it's a very special case. You have to play by ear and see if you find the right kind of connect.
Right. So find the right person to, if he wants to lead the business. Makes sense. Got it. Thank you.
So, sir, as Amay had mentioned, so most of them are all students currently in college, and they are in very much a pre-incubation stage, and they're from tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities just coming up, and this is most of them. It's their first hackathon, coming up with an idea and coming up to this top 100. So here the thing is, not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, like Amay said, but they want to innovate.
Sure.
right? So in that case, like, what is actually entrepreneurship for all? Maybe if you can tell them some 3 points or something to show them actually. Maybe it's too glorified these days that everyone can actually become an entrepreneur. It's a piece of cake sort of thing, and you can make tons of money, but it's actually not the case. So if you can elaborate on that, they would have an idea.
Sure, sure. So, entrepreneurship is somehow kind of made to look like the sexy thing with especially with television shows like Shark Tank and all that, because which have got mass reach. So suddenly everybody wants to be that person who can go out on the stage and raise a lot of money and become big. It happens. I mean, the possibilities are there that you can be that kind of a successful person. But for everyone who gets there, maybe there are 1,000 who struggle and don't make it. So there is a grind. There is from day one, from the point of time that you have an idea, right? A lot of times I see people with what they believe are ideas, but the idea comes out of their personal needs, that I wish this was there. And because I wish, and if I solve that problem, I think it's a great idea. Now, whether there are a million people like you who have the same requirement or not, India is a huge country. You can't go by that market of one, which is yourself. कि मेरे को अगर ये product होता तो पसंद आता, is it a large enough reach? So from that onwards, there are a lot of questions to be answered. That what does it take to bring it to life? Is it a viable product? How much cost it is and how much I can sell it for. Is there going to be a gap? Is there a profit to be made? Remember, business is for profit. Okay, it's not. So if you have I have this app and I've got a million users who have downloaded that, but how many of them have paid 1 rupee to you? Now if it's a free download, now what do you do with them? So it's got to be, there is a, if people have paid you 1 rupee to download, that's not enough money to maybe pay for the tea and coffee in your office, right? So the viability from pure economics point of, from a money point of view, what it takes to sell, what it takes to reach a larger audience, what kind of compromise sacrifices you need to make if you have a family, if you have people to support, and you're not bringing home a regular salary every month. Now, if you have some responsibilities on yourself for running the home, that's a challenge. If you're married and if you have a family to support, that's a challenge. So know the realities. See, entrepreneurship is great, but you shouldn't walk in thinking that, oh, it's some heaven that I'm going into. It is not. There is a lot of challenge, a lot of struggle. After you appreciate all that and you feel that, no, I'm willing to take it up, I know what it takes, and I have the drive, I have the idea, I have the passion, I work hard. Yes, sure. There is every chance that you could succeed and make a lot.
Yes. So then, Lakshmi, can we have your question?
So, actually, my project is based on bee detecting in fields, agricultural fields, for helping farmers. So, this is actually right. Now we have developed the algorithm to actually detect the weed, but still we are actually trying to make it like removing the weed also. So, it is actually helpful for farmers. Should we actually take it to farmers, or else the agricultural bodies in each of the villages to like actually give them that robotic thing that we are actually doing and sell it like that, or directly to the farmers, like the consumer
So
itself?
whatever little I can understand, I think while you've sort of solved an interesting challenge and a problem, what you need before you go, with a slightly larger effort to sell, you need to be sure that there is a very strong validation of the idea on the field. In this
Oh,
case,
yes, sir.
very literally the field. I mean, sometimes you use the word field for something else, but in your case, it is actually the agricultural field where you want to test it out. So you make sure that
Mm.
you find some sample number of farmers where they are literally like in technology and all, we use beta testing and alpha testing and all that. So they are like your proof of concept kind of test market of sorts, and you let it run for a while, maybe for 1 season or 2 seasons or something like that. You might come up with some challenges, some things are not working, some things that could be better. So fine tune your product, reach a point where you feel that now this is really strong, stable, fully functional product. Then you think about the next plan of how does it go farther? How does it go to a larger audience thereafter, right? So it needs to go step by step. Sometimes we are anxious that I want to go out and sell my product fast, but I think it is always better to make sure that it's gone through the routine, the cycle, the
Try
testing,
and test
and
it.
then look for larger reach for your product.
Yes, sir. I
So,
have another question. That is, what are the things to be included in a business plan? So, like elements of business plan, like.
So it's actually what I would call is what is referred to as first principle thinking. That you start from the basic. The basic is that what is it that you're trying to solve? What is there a problem to solve? Are you trying? What is the objective, right? Then for whom it is? Who is your audience? Right? What is the kind of customer that you're looking to reach? What is your estimated size of the market? And the size, so you may have reached, supposing in this case the farmers may be a few millions in the country, so that's the size of the market. You might say, for me, even if I get 1,000 farmers, I'm home and happy, I'll have made enough money, that's fine. But like at least there's a large enough market from where you're trying to take up a small, supposing the market is 1,000 and you say I'll need 800 to become viable, then there's a big problem, big challenge, because nobody gets that kind of market share, right? 80%, 90% market share. So just so you start from there, that what is the audience? How would I reach them? Are there ways in which I will be able to reach them? What is the cost of making my product? If I'm making a physical product, then what are the elements of the cost, including direct costs and then overhead, that I will need few people, I will need electricity, I will need a factory, I will whatever else you require. And then there is the whole sales effort, that what will be the sales effort? Will I go directly to customers? Will I have agents or distributors or dealers? They will take up some cost of the sale. And then finally, at what price can I sell it? Because there may be competitors already selling. So there'll be a certain band of price in which you can play. So if I get this much sell price, these are my costs. Will it be attractive? Finally, will there be a profit available? How much time will it take for the product to become ready? In that time, how much cost I'm incurring? How will it get funded? So it's like it's like how you should think about your business. You're just converting it into an Excel sheet or something, but it's like very clean thinking. Because even if there was no word like business plan, and somebody says, okay, here's 10 lakh rupees, go into it. Now, is 10 lakh going to be enough? Will it take you somewhere or not? It will depend on how you've broken down this whole detailing of cost, selling price, how much time it takes, how much sort of how much you'll have to fund it till you reach the selling point, etc., etc.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Sir, I'm sorry. I'm actually from the same team. So, what my doubt is that we are doing this to reach the farmers. Do you think that marketing is actually a problem here? Because not everyone could actually trust our project that easily. And also, it's something, okay, so cost price of our project would be around 6,000 to 8,000 rupees. So, how do we make them believe that it's a one time investment, and how actually the marketing should be done, and how can we make the investors also believe that yes, we can actually reach out to the audience, we can actually take our product to the next level?
So, see, I mean, there are a lot of thoughts I can share with you, but it could take time. So I'll try to, give you as crisply as possible.
Yeah, sure.
But first of all, if it takes 6,000 to 8,000 rupees, let's say one-time investment, you have to be clear that the value that you're driving to the farmer for that, supposing somebody willing to spend 6,000, how much of his crop is saved, right? If you're saying that weeds are eliminated or something like that, and how much does that convert into rupee value on an average, right? So if that maths is very obvious, that if because of this I saved, I 25% of my crop used to go waste because of weeds, but that has got saved and that's worth so much rupees to me, then it's a no-brainer that it's worth spending, first of all. But you might say that no, actually it's a one-time cost and it will help you over multiple years. So by the time you're in 3 years, the cost will be recovered. After that, it becomes free. So fine, make that case. Whether somebody is willing to trust you for 3 years, that the product will perform as well as possible, and it'll say it's a matter of trust, right? But anyway, so the thing, people pay for the value, right? So first that is the aspect, that are you able to communicate that value proposition to the farmer. Then the point is that how do you market now? Like maybe reaching the farmer, communicating them individually. It's like that one farmer at a time, not necessarily somebody who's seeing television all day or on the online all day. How does the communication reach them? So maybe as a test market, you may need to work directly with the farmers, because then you have a direct feedback also. But once you get there, are there intermediaries, maybe people who have similar products? Supposing somebody is selling seed to farmers and they already have a reach to a lot of farmers. Now, can you piggyback with them? That can you sell this also along with you, or can we do some co marketing or something like that? Or there are some bodies at a village level or at a district level which help reach a large group of farmers for some. So you all that you need to do some research in terms of how is the access to the farmers at a larger level. Are there corporate bodies who are into agriculture, right? There are corporate bodies, ITC and such other companies are into agriculture. Now, there is like a very professional relationship. Can you manage to reach some of those and get your first inroads? Because then at least the communication is to like like a business to business communication. So multiple things. I can't answer everything, but I'm giving you just high level idea of what it might be.
Yes, sir. We'll go to the
sure,
next.
thank you. Yeah.
Subiksha, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Hello, sir.
Hi.
As you say, startup life is different. So, can you share us what are the difficulties and differences people would commonly face? And if you are okay, the one which you faced. And when we start up, we wish to take a fundings as an option. And there are a lot of types of fundings, such as venture capitalists, incubators, bootstrapping, crowdfunding, serious funding, and angel investors. If we would start up, which will be the best option among these fundings?
So outside, I think I'm understanding that you are thinking about startup life as somebody who will actually do a startup and not somebody who is going to take up a job in a startup, correct?
Yes, to do a startup.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the compromise is this way simple, that supposing after you finish your college, if there is an obligation or sort of requirement at home that I need to start earning and bringing a check home every month, then with a startup that kind of thing may not be easy to happen. You might need to compromise, not take a salary for a year, 2 years. So only if you have that luxury of your family doesn't demand immediately some money from you, and you have an idea which is worthwhile for you to take that call and compromise and sacrifice, then it's worthwhile. First of all, you should be absolutely clear, because otherwise it puts too much pressure on you, that you think that in 6 months I will start making money and then I will go back home and I'll give them money. It may not happen. So then you will be under too much stress to deliver something sooner. It doesn't take that time. Only if you have a proper luxury of time, you don't need to take money home, then you can go there. And even after that, even if you have some revenue started or some venture capital, some money is having come in, there's a good chance that you may be not taking as much salary as you would take in a corporate job or something. So all that is there. The lifestyle is different. You may be putting in long hours. You may be working on weekends. You may not have the kind of holidays that maybe your classmates who've gone and taken up a job somewhere have that. So as long as you know all these, you're willing to, we are aware of this, your eyes are open, and then you're walking in, then it is fine. Then you should take the call. Coming back to the funding, so when I had that slide called bootstrapping, the point I was making is that you may not always even need a fund. Okay, so if it's if you're basically using knowledge to create something, if you're writing a software or you're writing a program, whether it is to solve a problem on the farm or in a factory or wherever it is, it may not need so much money. If it needs that, oh, I need to buy 2 computers and I need to do something, is it possible for you to put in your own little money and create that initial thing? So then you're getting that whole part about, oh, if I don't get funding, I can't get started, at least out of the way, because your business doesn't need that much funding. Okay. But otherwise, there is a general journey of funding, as you call it. And because even if you supposing there's something called IPO, or taking your company to public, it's a long journey. It doesn't happen at the beginning, right? So the journey typically is that initially it's your own money, then it's your friends and family, because at that time you're still at a concept. You have just created a concept. Now at a concept level, who will trust you? Your friends and family will trust you because you are you. They know you and they think, okay, you are the person worth giving. Here's some money, I'm putting it. Like, they're not going to ask you business plan or questions or anything. They're just giving you because of your own worth. Then with that, you get to a product stage, you make some prototype, or you get into some level where you can demonstrate something. Now, that is a stage when maybe an angel investor who could come and put in small amount of money. So these are people, again, not professional venture capital or private equity or something. They are people who have excess money. They are rich people who are willing to take some bets, that, bet on multiple startups. They probably invest in 5, 10, 15, 20 such ventures, sometimes even more. They know that 90% of them will fail and they will not even get their original money back. But in the 10% that succeed is where they make a lot of money. So they are willing to take those bets. So that's the next step. They don't ask too many questions, and you're not supposed to make too much answers, but some broad idea that this is the thing we are doing, this is the product, this is where we have reached, we need money to take it to the next level, and we need so much money. So that's the next kind of journey of funding. After you got there, you created certain size and scale. I mean, some proof of concept, got some revenues going, got a few customers going. Now you overcome that challenge. That is it an interesting product? Is it viable? So now is when you might go to a venture capital firm and ask for more money. That now I've reached this point. Now I want to scale to the next level. And then there's venture capital. And then as you grow ahead, you may have multiple series of venture capital. At some point, you will have a private equity. And if everything's going right, journey is great, then at some point you may go IPO and go and become a listed company also. So the whole journey. Funding, unfortunately, if there's a capital demanding business, you are probably every second year, every third year, you are in the fundraising mode, unfortunately.
Can we have the next from Hema?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, good afternoon, sir. My question is, how do you measure the success in business, sir? That's my question.
So it is actually it's a very interesting question. Sometimes there could be a philosophical answer to this. Success is very personal. If you set out with supposing you have raised money from investors and you've given them a certain picture that I have the ability to take this business from 100 rupees to 50 crores or 100 crores or whatever it is, then obviously the success is based on that, because you've given a certain picture to an investor basis which they have put money in your company. And then if you've drawn a picture of 50 crores and you reach 5 crores and say that I am satisfied, I don't want to do anything more, then it's not right, because you have gone and raised money with a certain vision, right? But if other constraints were not there, if other investors or any other promise was not there, then success is very, very personal. If you think that I want to start this business in this district, and I want to, for one of the people who asked the question about the weeds, my ambition is that in my district, there are 40 villages, and if I can help farmers in these 40 villages to have no weeds and the farms are much better, I am happy and I'll be feeling satisfied, and that's success for me. It could be that. For somebody else, it could be that I have made this machine which can save from weeds. I want to take it to the world. The whole world is my market. So then for them, even if the whole India is conquered, they say, no, I want to go to Bangladesh, I want to go to Africa or wherever there are farms. So it's all very relative. So, I mean, there is no one answer that this is success, that is success. It's completely personal.
Prithvish, can we have you next?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, sir. So my question is, when we are working for the prototype, then what will be the procedure to approach an investment?
So I have to be first very candid. It is not easy to raise money on a concept. It is not easy to raise money unless you have some connection. There are people who will raise money, but they are on their second or third startup, because they have already shown success. They have a reputation made for themselves. Okay, so today if one startup has succeeded and then they want to do the next one, and the next one they just have a paper idea. Nothing has been made. I have a paper idea. They go to the investor, they say, okay, here's my money. Because they have shown that you as a person have an ability to make successful startup. But for most other people, let's say if you're coming out of college or you're kind of very early in your stage, it's not easy to raise money So I'm not saying not to try, but don't assume that I will be able to do that, right? That said, if you're working on a prototype, obviously you still need to have the clarity as to what is the space in which you're operating, what is the problem you're solving, what are the current solutions available, if at all. Maybe there are solutions, but they are expensive or too cumbersome or too bulky or whatever it is, and you're trying to do something differentiated from what is there, right? Maybe you're coming up with a cheaper product, lighter product, easy to move, whatever it is. So why should your startup be funded? Because you're trying to solve a problem which exists, and you're solving a problem in a way which is somewhat different and better than what solutions exist, right? So that story, at least you should be able to tell very well. You should show the research, you should show what is there, and then you say, this is what it is. And I believe that my prototype can be made in so much money. Current market is so much. I could easily be able to sell it for so much. There is a profit to be made, and there's a market of so and so approximate size. I can be selling 100 of these in a year or 5,000 of these in a year, etc. There's a very ballpark level. I mean, you don't have to do very detailed plan, but it has to be have some story here. Everything is storytelling today. Let me assure you, any communication piece is about telling a story. So if you can tell your story, and story doesn't mean fiction, doesn't make believe. It's just that you bring it out in a nice narrative. This is the challenge, this is the consumer, this is the problem, these are the solutions. Here is how I'm planning to do differently. There's enough market. So fund me so we can be on the way together, like that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Can we extend for some more time? There are like a couple of questions coming in.
Sure.
Is it okay? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So,
I'm okay for a few more minutes.
next thing is from Arun. So Arun is asking that we do want to connect with a lot of people and make a good network, especially through LinkedIn. That is the kind of platform now which is more available on the business side. But the thing is, as you mentioned, like they are like strangers, and how do you gain that trust that, hey, this is this idea that I'm working on, and this is what I want to do? How do you get that through to the other person and build a network in this type of scenario?
Right. So see the very nature of the question that, I want to go to so and so and then ask them that this is what I'm building. Sort of, I mean, I'm getting the presumption that you want to connect and then ask for help of whatever kind. So that's the challenge. The true essence of networking is to create connections and requests and relationships without any selfish objective to begin with, right? So you may start today a lot of people, because they send out LinkedIn invitations in mass and they accept LinkedIn invitations in mass. Everybody is having 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 friends, but actually only 50 are really good close people. So the old way, so my networking journey, I would have started even prior to the LinkedIn era. So it was about real people, real connections, so maybe I was part of there is a body called TIE, the Indian Indus Entrepreneurs, TIE it's called. Now I was a part of that. I was a part of some other startup forums, which are all physical, and we met in person, and we made contacts, we made friends. We didn't go there to give a business card and ask for business. No, not like it's just about actually making and then understanding each other. So I say, oh, this guy is in packaging. Okay, fine. I make a note somewhere. Some other day, somebody says that, I've made a product. I don't know how to get it packaged. And you remember that other friend you had met. Can I make a connection? Right? So you are not involved. You are helping two other people who are friends. But if something happens, both will thank you. The guy who was looking for packaging says, oh my God, you helped me connect to the right person. The packaging guy feels that you helped him get new business, right? Now you're doing all this as a pure friend and a pure associate. What happens is ultimately at some point you will need some help, and you put it out as a request. Others also will be equally willing to help you. That's how it happened from physical to email and then internet and all that. But at its core, the principles need to be followed in the same way. That you try to meet people, you understand who they are, what they are. Just because you saw some 3 keywords in my profile and said, Acha, I'm selling software, would you like to buy it? Instead of that, what am I? Today, how often do I'm at a certain point that I have exited my second venture, I have sold a company and all that, and I still get random requests that, I offer you training so that you can get a job in a company. And I said, like, Are you not reading my profile? Am I the kind of person who's going to look for training to get a job? So it's so random, right? So if you don't do that job of actually knowing whom you're writing to, give them some context, and then try to become actual friends, and then gradually develop. And if you can find access to physical networks, it's even better. Because LinkedIn today, unfortunately, LinkedIn and such networks have become impersonal a little bit. But if you can start small, start with your own city or your town, meet some people, and gradually build it up, that might be very interesting, very useful.
Yes. Mantosh, we'll have your question. Mantosh, you are here? Okay, let me ask the other question. This is from Myth. So he is actually working with the team on building eco-friendly food delivery services using reusable packaging concept. So where they give points to return the containers and any surplus food, sort of maintaining it in a more eco-friendly way. So for this, what kind of marketing strategies would you recommend so that we can attract the environmentally conscious customers to this platform?
I think it's a long story. There's no like a quick answer to this. It's about, first of all, bringing awareness to what you are. You're that you are in a certain business, and you care for the environment, and hence you felt that there is too much of delivery of food, etc., happening, but it all leads to a lot of wastage. There's a lot of sort of environment abuse happening, and you want to solve that problem. So you have to create that feel that I'm here because I think there is a. By the way, do you know that there is a brand globally called Impossible Meat or something, Impossible Burger? They make vegetarian patties or vegetarian the like basically the patties which goes into burgers. It's founded by somebody who's got nothing to do with vegetarianism from a religion or anything point of view. He does it because to create a patties of meat or beef or something, the extent of environment abuse or environment wastage happens in terms of water, etc., for cows is huge. And he realized that, look, this is so terrible, but people like the taste and people like the texture of this kind of food. Can I replicate it? And he replicated it in the lab in a college, and then converted it into a product and sold. So that was his motivation. He goes out and tells that, look, this is the reason why do we, when we have one burger, how many gallons of water is wasted and how much of this is happening. Hence I've created this. Now once you put it out, it's become one of the most successful companies in the world. It's listed, making a lot of money, etc. So if you're into your containers which help the same, basically first is to take a stand that this is what you're doing it for. Get word out, create content, create a blog, create videos, get word out, and then say that tie up with maybe food companies, maybe tie up and put a, if there's any kind of a certification required, and you put it very proudly that in whatever it is, maybe there are in this sustainability space, there may be some certification as well. So you then tell your customers that ask for this by name, ask for only this packaging because you are helping the planet in doing so, etc. So long story, I can't give a crisp answer that this is what you need to do, but it all starts with increasing awareness about what you're offering.
Yes, we will go to the next. So there are two females in our team, Fastana, and their team name is Nutri Masters. Basically, they're nutritionists. They've completed their studies and they are looking at healthy nutritionist snacks. This is what they're working on. But of course, it's a very competitive space, and they are thinking like, how do we make it a brand, and what kind of obstacles are we going to face? What do you suggest if we have to take up maybe a small study of the business plan for a few months if we want to do, like, how do we take the next step?
So I think, honestly, I'm not sure if you're getting the full perspective of me on screen here, but if somebody needs healthy nutrition snacks, it's probably somebody like me. And unfortunately, for example, if I not that I go to the theater as much nowadays, but when I used to go, you go to a theater and you go to, in an interval, you go to buy some snack, and unfortunately, I don't find anything which is very healthy. So the space is very interesting. There are a lot of people who, given the choice today, will want to consume healthier, more nutritious products, but if possible, not at the compromise of taste. Because what drives, especially this casual food eating and snacks and all, is also taste. So if you can find a way to marry taste and health, you're onto something very interesting and very big. Um, that said, you will not have the economies of scale today that a normal fried potato chip company has, because they make in much larger volumes. Potentially that makes your product, which is a healthier option, a little more expensive to make. But still, if is there a way for you to price it in not necessarily exactly the same way, but not too high? So it shouldn't happen that, oh, if I have to eat healthy, I have to pay 50% more money, so I may as well eat the junk food, which is a potato chips. So is there a way for you to find that, like, in that zone? And it could happen that you work only with a very specific and target audience, that, okay, I'm going to address this for people who are health conscious in Lucknow, or in Indore or whatever. So take a limited market, do a fabulous job of targeting the right people. So your business plan and other things which you're making, also initially put your focus only on that market. Do some on-ground market research. What else is available? Are people coming into stores asking for healthy food products and getting them, not getting them? What price they are running at? If you had to make, what price you can make it? What price you can make an initial prototype? And if it became big, if instead of making 20 packages a day, if you had to make 2,000, how will your cost come down? What are the volumes that you can get? What are the economies of scale? So all that kind of homework can happen over the 3 months period. And then you can see that, okay, initially it will cost this much, but if volumes pick up, I can bring the cost down so much, I can sell for this much. There are retail stores that don't carry this. Maybe I'll sell it through them. Maybe I'll sell it to theaters. Maybe I'll sell it here. So you have some sense. And then maybe you work with nutritionists, or you put some hoardings outside a nutritionist clinics, a place where people are walking in, and your hoarding is outside that, eat healthy, or put flyers in newspapers or whatever it is. Figure a certain starting point, get something, and then expand it to other markets, more markets, etc.
Yes. So the next project that our team is working on, Kushbu, is an e-commerce platform for Chhattisgarh, basically the handicrafts and handloom products of Chhattisgarh. They're based out of there, and they want to promote this e-commerce platform only focused on Chhattisgarh's products, but they are conscious on how they're going to compete with other brands, and like what kind of strategies they can use to take it forward.
It's a good question, and a good option, good opportunity also. So when it is very unique like this, it's a handicraft or arts from a particular region or particular state. Few factors come into play. One is that is there any government incentive? Because, like, you're an individual, you have no obligation to only sell Chhattisgarh products. You can buy from China and sell to Egypt for all you care. It's a business, right? But you are choosing to buy and sell, or trade in products of Chhattisgarh. You maybe, as a local person, you're interested to promote your own state and your own culture, but who has a larger responsibility for this? It's the state government. So are there any incentives, or are there any subsidies, are there any promotional opportunities that the government has already identified for anything who's doing something for the state? You should tap them, because that's very focused and very regional. Second is, while the world may want to discover what Chhattisgarh art and craft is about, who are the people who already know about it? Well, people from Chhattisgarh who have gone outside of the state, maybe they've gone to other parts of the country, or they've gone to any other parts of the world. Is there a way for you to tap the Chhattisgarh person everywhere in the world and say, take your own state's products to your home in New York or in California or in London or wherever you are staying, showcase your own art and culture with pride. So that becomes a market, because then there are certain people who will do it, because you don't need to sell them a new concept, they already know that, oh, here's my home product. I love to have it, right? Third thing is then, if there are handicraft, sort of e-commerce portals, or there are handicraft related blogs and content places, what happens in marketing or in advertising is how efficient you can run that, which means that if you had to today, if you had the money and you took a full first page ad of Times of India, you could always do that and you can reach a very large audience. But if that large audience is 50 lakhs, but of that only 5,000 is relevant audience for you because they are interested in art and craft of that kind, you are still paying the price of all that 50 lakh ka reach, and which is the waste. So efficiency in advertising and marketing is about reaching your desired audience as targetedly, as closely as possible, so that you're not spending money to reach inadvertent excessive audience. That's the core of marketing, right? So how can you find that audience who could be interested in Chhattisgarh arts and crafts and products of that kind, right? So maybe other people who are interested in arts and crafts in general, forget about Chhattisgarh, but then they are going to blogs, they're going to content sites which are about art. There you showcase yourself. So at least you are reaching an audience who has a fundamental interest in this category. So like that, essentially the marketing, so regional thing, one is see if there's anything state provides in terms of encouragement. Second is see if the regions people are around the world and you can reach them. Those are a couple of things which are very relevant to regional focus. And then there's a category focus, which is arts and crafts. So find other places and other blogs and other sites which arts and crafts is promoted. See how you can get visible there, so the interested audience can find you. And that's a good place to start. Once you start, then of course, then you can keep learning and growing it.
So the next is again one more question around art and craft, but this is from coconut sort of products that they are making, coconut shells and stuff like that. So how do we grow and how do we actually target the people like you mentioned right now? Like how do we start here? That's what Harsh is asking.
So I think anything which is very unique and specific, whether it's art and craft from Chhattisgarh or whether it's coconut product or something, in such a case, content marketing is definitely a very important part. So what you need to do is to build an awareness around this specific and unique space. So you have thought about coconut products for some reason. You have some understanding, you have some knowledge of that space. That needs to go out to more people. That why is this a unique range? What are the advantages? What are the benefits? Are there health benefits? Are there anything else which is useful? To take the story out, because you're kind of I'm saying this because I don't know if there's already a ready market for it, right? When I talked about Chhattisgarh, I said that the people from Chhattisgarh who have migrated out don't need to be introduced to Chhattisgarh arts because they probably know about it. So you go there and directly try to sell them. Similarly, there are people who are already very familiar with coconut related products which you have in mind. Then it's just important to reach that kind of audience and say that, here is your range and here is how you are creating a nice product range and offering and cost and everything. But for everybody else who could be a market, but they don't know enough, then it's a question of content and content marketing and bringing out the essence of why your products are different, how it will be benefiting them, what are the values, what are the health benefits, etc. And starting from there and then keep again expanding thereafter.
So the next we have from Deepak. Deepak is asking, when should we stop? I mean, if we are not getting results as expected again and again, then when should we know when to stop?
It's a very good question and a very relevant one too. Okay, because that challenge often comes. And so what happens that one is, like I said, if you've done your business plan well, you've also done what I called earlier the reason to be. Why are you in business for, right? So you know what your goal is, and you've made a business plan from that goal, the objective, the whole detailing out, and then you're working towards it. And as you're working towards it, you might need to pivot. So again, things which I mentioned in the talk, that there's a need to pivot. Sometimes you're going in a certain way, it's not working, you pivot, you change, but your core remains the same. So what I'm saying is that, first of all, as long as money lasts, you don't want to overrun the money. You can't run it, because once your money is lost, then you can't continue. But as long as money is there in the bank, and you are trying out something differentiated, if supposing you had a plan A, and that plan A, you did everything that you were supposed to, but it hit a point that it didn't work. So then there's a plan B. There's an alternative. If this doesn't work, then I'll take another route and try to go from there. So as long as your money is there and you have a very distinctive plan B, plan B shouldn't be plan A plus, because you've already gone through the whole plan A and it's not worked, and then you make a small change, it may not really make too much of a difference. So you need to be very clear that, why did this not work? Maybe there's not enough of a market, or maybe our costs are such that our price is too high, and there's an alternate coming in from China which is much cheaper. How do I compete there? So if there is no so if your product, after your cost and all, you're able to sell for 100, but the Chinese product is coming in very similar to yours for 80, how are you going to shave off 20? Right? It's very, very hard, almost impossible. And you come up with something and say, oh, I managed to bring the cost down by 10. Look, it's not going to help, because the differentiation is much higher. So a plan B is that I'm going to do a completely different thing. I'm going to do the same thing, but instead of metal, I'm going to do in plastic, which will make my product equally good, but it'll be for 40. Now that's a plan B, right? So, as long as the passion is there, as long as the interest is there, as long as the belief is that this problem needs a solution, and you have some ideas, you keep trying, provided the money is there, and the stress has not reached the level where you or your family are going mad or something. If that happens, then you should quit much earlier. But as long as that passion is there, you can try. Be very honest to yourself. If you think that, like, passion often sometimes makes you keep doing it for much longer than you should. If you take a dispassionate view that somewhere something is lacking here, which I'm not able to pinpoint, but it's not creating a good opportunity business, I should quit. I will tell you my story. We had, in my first startup, which I mentioned in beginning, called Home India, we were way ahead of times, right? We were doing e-commerce in 1998. We were selling individual B2C products online to customers out of India in that old days, very, very early days. We tried a lot, we tried hard. At some point, we should have taken it earlier, that it's not happening. We had raised money. We had investors on our board. At one point, one of our investors talked to us to say that, look, we have all put in angel investment. For all of us, this is money that we can do without. It is not making an impact to our lifestyle even so much, right? But for you, these are valuable years in your working life. The more number of years that you drag on, the more number of years you're wasting to make your life somewhere, go to somewhere where you earn money and, make a capital for your own family and all. So you decide, if you want to try one or two more things, go ahead and try. But if it's not working, it is absolutely okay to call it quits and do something else. Doesn't matter our money. None of us will have even the smallest change in our lifestyle, but for you, you will not waste more years of your life, because you have to get something. So that was a very important lesson and advice to us from an investor himself, right? So those kinds of calls need to be taken if you've tried everything and it's not working.
Thank you for sharing that with us, sir. So the next question is, so this is a team which is building offline education for rural areas with AI integration, like having their own personalized teacher for rural areas without the internet. They're trying to have it as an offline sort of a setup. So what they're asking is, in an initial stage, how can we build and sustain customer loyalty in business, and how can we try to achieve this in a marketing perspective in a cost effective way initially when we are trying to bootstrap and all, especially since it's rural, and how do we have cost effective marketing strategies?
So see, when it comes to rural education, one thing is reasonably clear to a lot of people in the country, that there is a gap, that there is not adequate good education. The teachers are not there, the facilities are not there, the infrastructure is not enough. And so that's a problem needing to be solved. So at least you're in the right space in terms of trying to solve a problem which exists. The related issue is that the audience itself, the student or the parents there, may not have so much money to spend. If you were offering some fancy technology driven solution which costs money for you to make, and but you're offering it in a city, in an urban setting, and you say that the fees will be so much or something, people may be willing to spend. But you've chosen an interesting problem to solve. You use technology and AI and all that, which I would believe costs money to get some level of product readiness, and you've chosen a market which is not likely to be able to pay a lot. So what's an option? Because, like I said, the core problem of rural education is something which a lot of people and a lot of organizations realize. There are many others who want to try and solve it. Now, whether it is CSR money from corporates, whether it is NGOs, a lot of them, or even government, want to solve this problem. So your money or your return on your investment may not come from the end beneficiary, which is the student, but it could come from CSR of corporates, it could come from NGOs who are willing to do this job. So you have to first of all orient that my problem I'm solving is of the student sitting in a small village, but he or she doesn't have money to pay me. But here are people who are equally interested to solve the problem. Can I go and pitch to the Tata Trust or the Birla Trust or to so and so that look, I have a fabulous answer to solve problem of rural education in mass. This is what I've developed. This is how it works. I need your help and support to make it happen. Can you put in some funds, or can you run some classrooms, and we'll provide the backbone technology. So that's how maybe you can get your problem, your money also back, and solve the problem as well.
Thank you so much. So with that, there's a last and final question that's from Shabir. So they are creating a platform for e-waste, basically, where local shop that connects customers who want to sell that e-waste with shopkeepers who want to buy it, basically. So they are trying to work it out on a subscription based model, ideally. So to attract these shopkeepers, we need to first acquire a lot of customers, of course. So that shows the demand and the benefits. So how do we effectively acquire these customers first to show that this is having potential? How do we do that?
So, see, what you're describing a model is a very typical, what you call, matchmaking kind of a business. When you're the intermediary and you're matching somebody to somebody else, like, if you're a recruitment portal, you're matching a job seeker to somebody who has jobs at the company, right? You're in the middle. You're a matrimonial service, you're matching a bride to a groom potentially, right? So if you're in the middle, you have to attract both sides. So if you're in e-waste, you want to attract people who have e-waste to give, and then you have to find people who will want to buy it. Generally speaking, in any kind of matchmaking scenario, you have to own at least one side of the two. If both are new, then it's very hard that, like, shopkeepers won't come in plenty until they see a lot of supply, and suppliers also won't come in. I mean, people will not come and give it to you unless there is a taker for it. So the period involved initially could be a kind of an investment from your side. You say that, okay, I have to generate capital. I'll keep so much capital, and I'll create an initial base of so much e-waste which I pay and buy out from the people who are giving, and that's there on the platform. Now I tell the shopkeepers, look, so much is already there, so you come. Now because so much is there, they come, and now the next set of sellers, or people who want to give away, you sell them that, look, 100 shopkeepers are already coming here and every day and checking out e-waste. Why don't you contribute more? Because we already. So you have to break that. You can't say that I want to start both and start both little. Nothing will happen. You have to go and strongly build out at least one side of the story.
So thank you so much. I think one final thing, if you can mention to us, this is from my side so that all students can get benefited. So there are a lot of concerns on calculating their product costs and to factor in the marketing aspect of things and to transport all of this. They are not taking into account these factors, but they think only the materials alone is going to be the cost factor. How do I, or what kind of profit margins do I have to set to actually come up with a cost for my product? Like, what are the things that you think they have to consider? And the final thing is, when given the order of preference for promotions, market research, affordability, and customers empathy, which will you put first? These four. So with that, we will conclude, sir.
Okay, I think it's a long question. So in case I forget some part of it, you can remind me again, but I'll start with the first part. So when you're talking about costing, right, you know, you have to think that you're as if you're actually making it, right? If you're actually making, supposing you're into the business of garments or apparel, fashion, right? Now you're going to, let's say, create trousers or jeans or something like that, and the final fabric which is required is so many meters, but it doesn't come cut in a trouser style thing. You have to start with a bigger piece of fabric, and then there is a wastage, right? So you have to factor that whole piece, because the rest, and you can't do much with it. Maybe you get some salvage value, but it's gone. So you think about it, you have to start by so much fabric. And similarly, whether it is thread, whether it is buttons, whether it is zipper, whether it is whatever it is, smallest of cost, including factoring of wastage or something like that you take, so that, because that is a direct raw material cost. Then how much time does it take? So you are you going to run it out of a factory? You're going to run in a whatever workshop or whatever. So there's a space requirement. There's electricity. Maybe there is just people who are going to be running there. So that kind of a cost. So how much time it takes to, supposing you say, okay, I'm going to make 10 trousers in parallel. So okay, for to create 10 trousers, what's the number of time? How much time it takes? So all this is still product cost. It's not even reached anything beyond that. So this is just to get 10 products ready. Now they're not going to sell on day one, the day you are ready. You may need to make an inventory of it, so you may have to hold the material for some time. They're lying in a warehouse, they're not getting sold. Out of that, 6 get sold, 4 then don't get sold at the price that you asked for. So you might have to reduce the price of those 4 and sell it tomorrow, so your margins go down on that, right? Now selling price like needs to factor all the cost plus your own cost, your time. You don't see that you're free. You are yourself. You have to run. You take money home. You have to run your family. So that cost, and any other distribution cost. So you are selling to a distributor. He needs his margin. So you have to share revenue with him, and then he sells. So all that, finally, how much money you are getting for yourself after factoring that, and is that then a price at which it is sellable? So supposing you say I need 100 rupees, distributor is going to take 5 rupees, dealer is going to take 3 rupees, retailer is going to take 2 rupees, and then or something like that. Now, is that price still a viable price for the consumer to pay? Or the consumer was not going to pay more than 100 or 95 or something, then how does that whole get worked out, right? So it is I'm trying to simplify over a verbal answer like this. It's basically you need to sit with an Excel sheet or things like that, mark out, but don't ignore any cost. The costs are real. The costs are not make believe. By trying to say, "Nahi, I don't think itna hoga, let's keep it less," you're only fooling yourself, because in reality, most of the time, what you factor the cost actually become a little more than that, right? So no point in trying to paint a rosy picture for yourself by reducing the factors. Once you are up and running, then you can find efficiencies and reduce costs and all that. But initially, take on the higher side and see what price you will want to sell it. Is there margin? Is there? Okay, I'll tell you one more truth. Margin is the key. A business survives on margin. And when I say margin, margin percentage. If you're going to be at a 2% margin business, the 2%, when it becomes 1% and when it becomes 0%, you don't know. Because something or the other, some inflation, some change in GST or something or the other will certainly make a big difference. And certainly that will be washed out. But if you're starting with a 40% margin, and then 5% also goes away, you're still sitting with enough gross margin that you're making. So find a business which is very strong. Investors also will invest in a business when you show that I'm building it for a total cost of 100, and I'm able to sell for at least 150 or 200 or something, they will love the business, right? Because that's the kind of business which can generate cash for you, for them, etc. Everything. So margin is what you need to factor in. There was this last 4 points. What are the 4 points you mentioned?
Promotions and marketing. Then the market research, like before you get into it, the getting the lay of the land market research, affordability, and target customers.
Right. So I don't know. So what about these 4? What should we prioritize?
What is the order of preference that they should focus on?
First of all, if you're solving a problem for somebody, for a kind of audience, supposing for example, you are making a product which is for physically disabled people, right? You're making a better wheelchair or something like that. Very clearly, your market is very specific, very targeted, right? So anything like that, anything you can be very clear about your audience. So your audience is defined, right? So now with the audience, if you do the market research for that audience now, that what is it that they currently spend, how much they are willing to spend, what is their current problem, if you were to solve the problem, will they spend 10 rupee more, 10% more, 5% more, etc., and all that. So you factor, the market research comes in for that target audience. And supposing you say, okay, today they are spending 5,000 rupees for a wheelchair, but if it was this, I may be able to sell for 7,000. Is 7,000 affordable? So that's when the affordability comes in, because you're giving a better product but at a higher price. Now it may be worth 2,000 more, but if people don't have the money to spend that 2,000 more, or only some of them have it, then your market is lower. Today the overall market for wheelchairs may be 10,000, but because it's become 7,000, only 2,000 of them can afford. Then you should factor only 2,000 as a market size, then, because it's not affordable to the rest, right? And then of course come the marketing. Once you know that all these are good positive checkpoints, that yes, there is a market research tells you there's a good market, affordability you have already evaluated. Now is ready. Now you get the product ready. Then comes the promotion and marketing to actually put it out in the market.
So thank you so much for such an amazing session. You have spent so much of your valuable time to patiently answer all the questions. Another additional even 30 minutes you have took to patiently answer. We are so grateful. So guys, please give it up for Mr. Sanjay Mehta. Such wisdom and such amount of gratefulness we have, sir, for all your valuable inputs. Like you said, we are going to take all your insights. All the students are going to work on it, and we'll make sure that whatever beer we come up with will taste better, healthier, and even unique. So we will just convey all our thanks to our dearest Mr. Sanjay Mehta. You can also join sir on LinkedIn. I will share his link. He's been super kind, and even at the last minute, he had actually prepared the presentation. I made him kind of work into it. But thank you, sir, for being so patient and so kind to us. It means so much to us. We will definitely connect with you, and our students will reach out to you as well. Thank you so much, sir.
Sure, most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care, sir.